Hey, this is Josh.
And this is Sean from Gale Bird from Charleston, South Carolina. And you're listening to The Jay Franzi Show.
Welcome to The Jay Franzi Show. A behind-the-curtain look at the entertainment industry with insights you can't pay for and stories you've never heard. Now, here's your host, Jay Franzi and Tiffany Mason.
And we are coming at you live. I am Jay Franzi, and with me tonight, the grace to my will, my beautiful co-host, Miss Tiffany Mason.
Good evening.
And if you are new to the show, this is your source for the latest news, reviews, and interviews. So if you would like to join in, comment, or fire off any questions, please head over to jfranzi.com. All right, my friend, tonight we have a very special guest with us. We have two very special guests with us. We have 2/3 a very special guest with us. All right. Hailing from the great state of South Carolina, we have Gale Bird. Josh, Sean, how are you?
Jay and Tiffany, thank you both for having us on.
Yeah, doing well. We're doing well.
Is it Josh or Joshua? Which one do you prefer?
Either one. I think that's obviously my last name's Gale, which is part of the name of the band, which is a story in itself, and how those nicknames formed over the years, but usually go by Josh or Joshua, whatever someone's calling me.
All right. Well, that's what I want to know. Let's just start there. What is the story behind the name?
So, story behind the name. So I've got two older brothers, and we all grew up in Plano, Texas, right north of Dallas. And so that's football country. So, of course, oldest brother's 6'5", making a name for himself playing sports.
Oh, wow.
Next brother up is fast, making a name for himself, and then coming up behind everybody is the big redheaded Josh Gale. So the coaches had already become familiar with our dad, who was a former college football player, just a very high intensity type of person, the one from every TV show or movie, Friday Night Lights, that you'd ever heard of. The guy that God, I hear him. You hear him louder than any other person in the stands. So the last name, everybody in football calls you by your last name. So for Gale, it was me, but my dad would choose to yell out my nickname, which was Gale Bird. So he'd come, yell, "Come on, Bird," and really loud. And so as soon as coaches found that out, the nickname from just calling me Gale turned into Gale Bird. So it caught on pretty quickly. And then sports, it just became Gale Bird. Around school, it became Gale Bird. I think when we were recording, some tracks, a couple of years ago, Sean, we had to come up with a band name, and we just started throwing out names. One of mine being Gale Bird, and it just kind of stuck. We didn't hate it. I don't think any band name's good until you make it. And so we can go with a whole list. Red Hot Chili Peppers. What's another one, Sean?
AC/DC.
Yeah.
Just letters.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin has a bunch, yeah.
I tell you, my favorite name of a band ever was Make Lisa Rich.
Make Lisa Rich.
Joshua, I thought maybe the name was from like Sing Sweet Nightingale, and you were like a songbird, and so it was like a Gale Bird.
Yeah, but no, it's kind
way
of
more masculine story.
Yeah, well, it's morphed into that over the years, and my wife and her family all had an affinity for birds, and I showed up to pick her up for our first date, and I have a big giant bird on my shirt, and they just knew, oh my gosh, that's an omen. This is meant to be kind of thing. And it just always became something special to us. And of course, I'd buy her things with birds on them and whatnot. So it's always been special to us. And then I do see my wife as a songbird, and her beautiful voice and all that kind of stuff that actually, we didn't discover until we got married. I had no idea she sang.
What a beautiful surprise.
Yeah. So there was apparently a young boy in elementary school that she had a crush on, and he just told her she should never sing again.
Ooh.
And she, little third grade Melissa, heard that, and she received it, and she stopped singing. She would participate in choirs and things like that, but never having the confidence to step up and sing. So I heard her singing when we got married, and I was like, hey, I'm not trying to flatter you. Like, we're already married, but I really think you have an amazing voice. But it took a lot of convincing and encouragement to get her to even sing in front of her own family. That's where we kind of started, was getting her to sing in front of her family. She would always threaten me, please do not ask me to sing. I will fight you, kind of. But then it just expanded from there. And then I convinced her to sing with me one Sunday at church. And she got enough feedback there to be like, okay, Josh is not just lying to me. It's, because I've had, if you've played out enough, you've always got somebody coming up that's had too much to drink that's saying, hey, you got to let my wife sing a song. She is the best. And so you're like, okay, I kind of am up for a little bit of entertainment. What is your favorite song? And she bombs. But her husband is literally just the happiest man on planet Earth. Like, so happy. Somehow he's got like Shallow Hal ears or something like that, and he hears something different than we do, but he's just having the time of his life. And, those are the guys that always will throw a tip jar, something out, for you or whatever. But this wasn't the case. She knew it. She felt like genuine care that people noticed that she had something that was pretty great.
So how long were you guys playing before you brought her into the band?
We started pretty early. We started out of college, so I don't know, 14 years ago now. We went to colleges that were maybe 20 miles apart. So we'd get together every once in a while and we'd play around town. And through Josh starting to date her and then, us growing closer as a band, we start realizing she's got potential. And so she started singing pretty late into us starting. We took a 10-year break. We started having families. I have 2 kids. Josh has 4. And then a couple years ago, Josh called me up and said, hey, I think we want to give this another go. And so she had started with us back then, but it just made sense. And she does have a beautiful voice. Oh my goodness. So we started back up and she's been the one that makes us look good ever since.
Now, Sean, when is your wife joining? When do you guys become a quartet?
I've been working on trying to get her on an instrument, and it has been a struggle. But we're gonna keep working. She's like social media
photographer.
We tried the photography. The photography didn't work, but okay. She's incredibly gifted artist. She actually did design one of our album art. She's incredible portrait artist, and she did a single line sketch of Melissa, actually, for Crumble Down.
That's one pen stroke that is a portrait of Melissa that she just nailed. And that was the album art cover, or the single art cover for that one. She's extremely talented. She does charcoal portraits. She does oil. I mean, she is extremely talented. But we've always been very cautious of that too. There's always tons of stories of how there was, a Yoko that broke up the band. And we've had run-ins with that before as well, in college days where, somebody asked their significant other to come in. And I'm telling you, if you can't hear your harmonies super well and they're not super confident, playing live is extremely hard because you don't know what you're going to get at any venue. You never know. I mean, you're given what you're given, unless you're bringing your front of house and your ears and your 2 sound guys. You have no idea what you're going to receive at any venue. And so, if you're not extremely confident, we've ran into that before, where the harmonies disappear or things like that. So, we've always been cautious of all that. But we get to play with the rest of our family as well. Family is extremely important to us, and so my brother-in-law, all day long, he works the head of one of our largest hospitals in South Carolina. He works the head of the palliative care. So that's like end of life care. So his life's pretty crazy. Monday
he needs some music.
He needs some music. It's like the beginning, Monday morning, it's like, who died over the weekend, And so every chance he gets to jump in with us is like his out, and we have such a blast. And then lots of other friends that join us that have so much energy and are just such incredible musicians. COVID was insane, but one thing I'm thankful for is that it brought some incredible musicians here to Charleston. When kind of, Music Row shut down, parts of Nashville shut down. Some people followed their wives or their girlfriends back down south over into Charleston or into South Carolina. And we're so grateful that we ended up with some incredible friends from that. So some great things came out of that as well, including members from our band.
So you take this 10-year hiatus, and you come back, and now you're playing with your wife in the band. What's the difference, the feel difference between beforehand to the way it is now?
It's night and day. I think just life is different. We have kids, and so it does change priorities. We're not trying to play out as often as we were back then. It's a little different grind. It's a lot more of the when can we find pockets in the studio and things like that. But it's also just, I think, really shaped what we write about at this stage of life. A lot of what we're thinking about is how can we be a better partner in our marriage, and how can we encourage other people in that? We think it's important. One of the most important things in life is to invest in your family, and so it's really shaped the dynamic of the band now. So a lot of what we're writing about is trying to spark hope into marriages and into our own marriage. It's therapeutic in a lot of ways. So we've always had a little bit of a bent towards rock country and that style, but thematically and dynamically, I think we have shifted a good bit.
So how would you describe the style of what you guys are doing now versus what it was?
That's a good question. I think initially we were more focused on the live show. And so a lot of what we were writing and where we were heading towards was how do we make something that's super engaging and fun and exciting for a live crowd? When we started back again a year or two ago, we started in the studio. And so it was a little bit different approach. When we still play live, we want to make sure we're having a good time and, exciting and engaging still. But when we're writing for the studio, it's almost a different mindset now of how we're approaching a song. And so approaching production looks a little different. We're thinking more as a producer's mindset, what can we add to the song that really elevates what we're trying to communicate well? That gets prioritized over making the chorus this big anthem-y thing that we hope the crowd will sing with us. And then we're thinking also genre-wise, are we trying to write for a specific audience? Are we looking at playlists and trying to stay within a genre? It's been very different and very interesting. And I think we're still trying to figure out exactly what that looks like for us. But we have definitely shifted more toward country than we were 15 years ago.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, it started with a rock feel, and you're kind of moving into the country world, more of an Americana style feel to it. So what were the influences in the rock world?
That's kind of always a interesting dynamic between me and Josh, because Josh, you can speak to this, but I'm pretty sure he was majority country with a lot of what he listened to. And my parents did not like country music. So I didn't grow up listening to any country. I started playing guitar young. And so I found out about Brad Paisley and Keith Urban. And so I started listening to the guitar players, but it wasn't until the last few years that I've really kind of started listening and adding that more to what I'm digesting. So I grew up with classic rock and 90s pop. I grew up with a lot of contemporary Christian music from playing at church and things like that. And then I studied jazz in college. In working in studios, I've done a lot of different genres from Latin to orchestral and country. And so I come to the table with kind of a wide variety of things, none of which are very super strong country. And so a lot of times Josh is having to rein me in to keep me in genre. But it also, I think, creates some really cool
flavor,
nuances that are different. Yeah.
Josh?
Yeah, for me, so the first couple of years of my life was spent with my grandmother, who's from Hickory, North Carolina, which is Appalachia, just strong Southern accent. And then we made a move to Dallas, and it was anybody and everybody. Nobody has an accent in Dallas, and somehow it's in Texas, but everybody lost it. I think my parents encouraged that as well. Would correct grammar, would correct all that kind of stuff, because there's at some point. We know in the South that sometimes folks think that that's a sign of ignorance, so that was corrected a lot growing up. And so my wife would even notice, man, when you say certain things or when, whatever it is, it just almost comes out, and so I stopped trying to correct myself as much over the years and just kind of let what was natural be natural. And first record, living, let's see, I was on a bus in 2002, and I wanted to buy a new record for this bus ride from Plano to San Antonio. And I was going on a trip to sing with a group of guys that we'd been nominated, and it's called the Texas Music Education Awards. It was a giant thing. So you have football and then like competitive singing in Texas. It's a huge thing.
They go together.
They go together. So we were, it was a long bus ride across the entire country of Texas. And I got one record. We went to Walmart, went to the CD rack, and
it was
Tim McGraw and the Dance Hall Doctors. It was this record that like blew my mind. There was not a single track on that record that I did not fall in love with. And somehow it related to 2002 young Josh that kind of explained some emotion to me that I had not yet like been able to experience or convey. Just an incredible record. If you've never had a chance to listen to the entire thing from beginning to end, it is an incredible journey. Just Red Ragtop was one of the singles from that record, which was an incredible song. Probably too young to completely understand what the heck I was even singing. But, that's why God made Mexico.
Jesus sometimes.
Hey.
Sometimes the songs that like my kids sing along to, I'm just like, oh, I'm like, okay, it's going over their head. It's going over their head.
Yeah. Yes. And then now I think about it, you have like Alexa in the house now, and they can literally play any song they want to at any time, which is great. But at the same time, like, whoa, not that one.
We have those moments here.
Yeah. 1000%. Did not want to have that conversation today with the child, but there it is. So that record. And then my first concert, I'm going other end of the spectrum, was this pop rock concert. A friend of mine got tickets. Her name was Michaela Kennedy. And she said, hey, my mom said she'd take us. Well, I got my first concert with a girl that I thought was really cute. And it was John Mayer at the Smirnoff Center in Dallas. Again, my mind was blown. Like your first concert being John Mayer. My son's first football game is about to be the Dallas Cowboys in Charlotte against the Panthers in a suite. So a friend of mine called me and said, hey, we have a suite. My son's first football game's in a suite with food.
He'll never go anywhere else. That's just it.
He'll never want anything else. I'm like,
bar high.
Yeah, we gotta be super successful now. So John Mayer, had this great record. I had this great, incredible live experience. And I from that moment, I knew I wanted to put on a rock show somehow that was that incredible. And the opener for John Mayer that day, none other than Counting Crows.
Oh, cool.
And so it was like,
awesome.
You couldn't have asked for a better first concert. I had not even listened to Counting Crows prior to that concert because I'm in like sixth grade.
I
right?
like them better than John Mayer.
Exactly, but I had no idea what I was even walking into until I got there. And Michaela played music, and so we would go and we'd try to like write songs and join the talent show and all that kind of stuff. And that began that, and an injury in football kind of launched me into just playing music until I could recover from that injury. And so that's where I went. I went to music. It was there, and it's always been there for me.
How does Charleston affect the way you play now?
Absolutely. So, I'll let Sean speak into it as well. Sean is incredibly talented. I hear something in my head. He can breathe it, make it happen, put life into it. I hear a sound. I hear, something in it, and his ability to produce is just incredible. And if I was owning a business, that would have been the greatest hire I ever made. The secret sauce, the success.
How much money was it?
We're working on it.
I'm just wondering.
And so anyways, my wife and I have a boat club membership. We could pick from 100 plus boats. We pick the type
Is it
of boat.
freedom?
It's freedom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And we love it because, number one, I love to play music. I love computers, all that kind of stuff. I cannot fix anything to save my life, which has always been a source of contention because my father-in-law is a contractor. So my wife's always like, oh, it's all right. I'll call my dad. I'm like, oh,
How does that make you feel?
Exactly. So I show up, we get on the boat, we take the boat out, and everything else shuts up. Every other anxiety, anxious feeling, fear, whatever's bothering me, annoying me, everything, even if my wife and I weren't getting along, like you cannot not get along on a boat with beautiful weather and the harbor and sunsets and just everything. You can't be unhappy in that scenario. That influences a lot, for us, is that we're living the life that I think people dream of and write about living. We're already there. It's incredible. We get to experience it with our kids and try, our goal is to spend as much time as humanly possible with our children. And that's how we've set up our life. And so that finds its way into our songs. And it just, when everything else leaves your brain and you're out in nature, that's when the influence, that's when the lyrics come. That's when you're flooded with emotion that can just compel you to write an entire song that also influences how the song should even sound. Yeah,
isn't it weird though? Doesn't it feel like they should all have steel drums in them?
I've tried. I got bells and I still do. And Sean had to figure out how to make that work because you can't really tune a bell, but we figured it out. And at some point, I think it'll make it in. And especially the way country is these days, you've got new and old country. New country, you've got the new Chris Stapleton song that just came out. It's got this 70s groove to it. It's like everything's on the table now. Let's just try it. Let's figure it out. And, talking back to John Mayer, from very first John Mayer, that's pop and universal for everyone, to really what John really wants to write and record is what, more of what we're getting in later years of John Mayer. So it's for us, it's that struggle too, is like something's got to be somewhat universal, but I want to still have my stamp on it and make it a little weird. And so we try to find that balance into it. Sean, what is it for you?
I definitely echo, my parents live on the marsh, and there's just something special about being able to go out there. To me, it is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I've done writing retreats in the mountains, and I've been out west and seen some beautiful places, but there's just something about the marsh that does something when I look out and see just the colors of the sky contrasting with the grass and the water there and the breeze. It is something special, and it definitely influences our writing. We do a lot of writing outside, and we're really working to see what that sounds like in our music. So yeah, absolutely. I think it's a huge influence. And on another note, the way Charleston has influenced us is, I think we're very fortunate. It's got a great music life. There's a lot of different genres that do well here. And I know one of the harder ones is original music. It'd be easy to find a bar gig for 3 hours playing someone else's stuff, but that's not what we want to do. And so it's not been the easiest thing, but there is a scene for original music, and we found some contacts and some great opportunities. We've got a concert coming up at an awesome venue down here called the Poor House. It's out on James Island, and it's this great inside and outside venue. So we'll be outside on the deck about, late October. Should be beautiful outside, just getting cool, maybe get the fire pits going. But yeah, we have opportunities to do live music here, which is such a blessing. We love it.
How often do you guys get out to do live shows?
It's a little tough in this season with, having the families. We don't want to be out every weekend. So we try to really craft seasons. So for the fall season, we'll have 3 or 4 shows, take a little break during the winter, do a few more. And part of the goal also is we want to make the couple experiences that we get with our fans just excellent on every level. Yeah. Super fun, super engaging, always promoting what we're doing next, but doing different versions of it, and maybe trying some of the ways we wanted to do it in the studio, but it didn't make sense to record it that way. We'll try it out live, and we try to limit it a little bit, but it's worked out really well for us so far.
Well, what I feel like I'm hearing you guys say is that, there's always this visionary, and I have heard that the most desired yet most difficult to find is a visionary and an implementer. And in my observation, it seems like, Joshua, you're kind of the visionary, and then Sean, you're coming along as the implementer. How does Melissa play into all of that?
Yeah, for me, a lot goes into songwriting. You listen to some of our songs, it's figuring out how to turn, how somehow God turned a mess into a message. Marriage is hard, y'all. We've been
married for a minute.
It's tough. It is really tough.
We have.
Well, not Jay and I.
My wife's going to be pretty upset. She hears that.
But it's tough. When the Jay, I'm assuming, but when the Boston wants to come out of Jay, and then all of a sudden your wife is, as sweet as can be, gets on the other side of that. It's like, dang.
Have you met her?
No. See, I'm assuming. But when the Josh that grew up with a house full of men shows up, the things don't go well, right? It's not that I don't have holes in the drywall. I don't have all this stuff, but I didn't grow up with women in the house. They're to be engaged differently. And now I've got 3 girls and 1 boy. Like I'm trying to figure this out, and some of them are coming of age where I'm like, hold up, this is really, really different. And so I'm trying to figure out. Does the
temper come from the red hair?
Yeah, it's from somewhere. It's from somewhere. Sean and I, we meet at the gym every morning around 6 o'clock, and we try to get as much of that stuff out of the way as possible. But no, it's my wife and I are both extremely passionate. For me, being super passionate and being driven to do so many things kind of puts you in a busy cycle, which then, everything's grabbing for your time. And my wife, her number one love language is time. And
wait, are you talking about my marriage? Oh, you're talking about your marriage. Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about mine for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. But she'll let me know more ways than one. And I'm usually pretty dumb to not realize it right away.
I was going to say non-receptive.
Non-receptive. Well, that she's banging on. Eventually, she's banging on the door, and it's very obvious that she does not feel loved because we're not spending time together.
Jay, remember I told you that Mr. Mason and I got into a pretty good argument this weekend? It might have been about quality time. I don't know. It might have been. I don't know. It's tough when kids are little, though. And, you're still trying to chase your dreams, and you're trying to support each other. And I always think of the country song, trying to keep the balance up between love and money.
Yeah. It's
Is it the same thing for you, Sean? Are you multi-passionate?
Yeah, absolutely. So the bridge of that song Josh was just quoting, I still do. It essentially comes from my feeling of I wasn't looking for a woman as good as I got. I had a high bar, but when I've got to know my wife, my goodness, she's incredible. So I definitely fall short often, but I'm also very fortunate, and it's worked out really well for our situation. Is we've been able to make it work. So she stays home and homeschools the kids. So I do most of my work upstairs in the studio, and I get to just, like today I came down and my kids are into this old 90s game called Beyblade. I didn't even play it as a kid, but it's coming back apparently. And so they are they don't even have the real toys. They have just fake tops that they'll spin. And so anyway, I got to come down and I got to play with them and just say hi to everybody for a couple minutes. And I think it's that dynamic has helped as I've shifted. I had a more normal scheduled job for a while. And right as we started writing and getting in the studio and we got signed with a local label, I had left that job to freelance. So I'm at home most of the time. I play around town still with some other groups, not other bands, but like just collections of jazz musicians or whatever, and do some marketing and stuff on the side. But most of the day I get to either produce music or be at home with the family. So it's still sometimes not enough, but I do get to be around a lot.
Okay, you guys have all talked about the songwriting process, and you've mentioned that you do production. So can you kind of walk us through that process when it comes to your songs here?
Yes. So typically the way it's worked for us, Tiffany, like you were saying, Josh is absolutely a visionary. You nailed it on the head. He is incredible with just vision and looking ahead as to, great ideas for songs, themes. He's great in the business sense of that. He's great with marketing. He covers so many aspects of what Gale Bird is able to do. And so typically what I try to do is once he has an idea and a theme and he's got some lyrics down, I try to kind of take all the pieces and see, how can this function as a full song? And so we get to work together on that. Melissa will come in and help as well with that. And so then once we have our idea ready, we'll usually talk with the label, and we have a great relationship with Holy City Music, who we're signed with here. And we kind of get to start running with it. And so once we all agree on at least a direction, I get to kind of take it into my creative studio and just have fun with it.
All right. So describe the studio.
So my studio here at the house is awful looking. Aesthetically, it's so I can't record podcasts in it. It looks so bad because it's just instruments everywhere. Every square foot is taken up with some sort of microphone or baffling or random African percussive instrument. I have all sorts of stuff, but it's my favorite thing because in any moment as I'm creating, if I have an idea, I can 5 feet away grab what I need. Or we're recording a song right now, and I heard a moment that just needed something. I needed it to feel like it was airy. We have a song we're going to release called Roses, and it's just a beautiful song. I'm so excited for it to get out. But I was kind of going for a vibe of being out in the garden, and I had the thought, I was like, I have wind chimes on the front porch. I need those right now. And so grabbed those, tracked them for a second in there. It's a mess, but it's like my brain, I guess it works. I can function in it really well. We start piecing it together and make sure everybody's on board with the direction. And usually by the time I kind of have a foundation, Josh is coming in with some excellent ideas on vocal production. And then the studio engineer is incredible with creative ideas on how to image it and just make it really come to life. So it's a team effort.
All right. So you mentioned studio engineer. So does that mean that you're tracking someplace else, or do you do it all at your studio?
Great question. So I have a studio upstairs at my house. I'm able to do a lot of it there, but the label has its own studio. So typically we're kind of splitting depending on how important the capture is. So with vocals, I'd say 90% of those we're going to try to grab them at the studio, at the label studio, excuse me.
Yep.
But if it's things like I've got a great rig for my acoustic guitars here at the house, for my electrics, for keyboards, so I can track a lot of that stuff. I can do a lot of the preliminary cleaning tracks and things before I send them over there, and then we'll grab the really high quality, high fidelity stuff that we need to capture at top level there.
So when I'm behind the glass that's how many feet thick, and the doors that are, when they shut, it's like all the air comes out. So I'm back there. Sean's behind the soundboard, and Sean will know exactly what we need and how much of it we need, where we need it to go, and then how many different versions and what we can try. And then if we've got a little bit of voice left, we're gonna give this a shot. And he is coaching me in so many different ways to get the best thing that we could possibly get. But his way of, I've been able to share him with other friends as well in different genres, and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that this would even be possible. Sean made things so incredible throughout the process. He's got that producer gift that not everyone has. I'm just trying to tell a story, and he's able to bring that story into production to where everyone would enjoy it equally.
All right. So the studio itself, the label studio, they use Pro Tools and they go through a small SSL console. So what do you use at your home studio? Are you using Pro Tools as well?
So I've grown up with Logic. So I'm pretty exclusively Logic X. I've been using that for a while. I've got a pretty decent 16-channel rig, and then I've got a travel rig as well with some of my. I produce some other clients, some other artists. So it's nothing near as nice and fancy, but I've got a few little tools that at least keep up, for the things that I'm doing.
You mentioned the 16 channels. What I/O box is it?
So I've got a Motu 8M, and then it's also connected to a Focusrite. I'm not sure which one it is, but another 8-channel.
Very cool. So you guys are tracking these songs, combination between the two studios. When you started at your home studio, is that the foundation that you take into the label studio, or do you redo it once you get to the label studio?
Yeah, it depends on the song. With the one we're coming up, it was I wanted the bass to be acoustic guitar. My whole vision of it is I want the listener to feel like they're listening to an acoustic song, but it's produced in a way that by the time they get to the climax, there's all sorts of stuff happening, and they didn't realize they got there. And so with that being the case, I wanted to make sure I tracked acoustic first. So I tracked that here along with some of the more ethereal stuff I'm doing on the electric guitars and some strings. and then brought that over to the studio for them to do vocals. Other times, especially if it's a full band project, I want to grab the drums and bass first. I trust the studio they get such great drum sounds in that room. I don't even want to mess with that at my house.
Right.
So I'm doing a foundation over there and then starting to add stuff maybe at my studio where I'll come in. There have been a couple times where I know I'll have a bunch of organic instruments that I need to track all in one day. So if I got a banjo, a mandolin, and a 12 string, I'll just bring it over there and he'll bring out the ribbon mic and it'll be perfect.
Right.
And it's less that I have to do at the house.
Two things there. One, especially when you're starting at your house, are you using a click track, I'm assuming?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And two, you mentioned ribbon mic. Which one is it? Do you know?
Ooh, I do not know. I just know I probably can't afford it.
It's a very impressive situation. I mean, the way you guys have it set up is pretty cool. So, Josh,
Sir,
we have the opportunity tonight to talk to you and Sean and get the idea of how you guys put things together. Can you explain to us more what your wife's process is during all of this?
Yeah. So, of course, not just being some of the inspiration for me trying to some of these songs are apology letters. Maybe I screwed up and I get it. And not just a simple sorry, but which sometimes she's telling me, please just say sorry really quickly. And then sometimes I'm just like, I had to pour it out in a song and it didn't come out as quickly. But no, she is a breath of fresh air. She is, anytime in the studio, things can get a little like not tense, but you're under the clock, right? You only have a set amount of time. There are different, all sorts of different factors, especially when doing vocals. She's one take Melissa, perfect pitch, perfect key. She goes through a song and it's like, she's done. And then here I am and I'm like, I want to try it this way. I want to try it this way. I'm doing this. Sean's trying to, we're trying to really pull the most out of it. I'm taking spoonfuls of honey and we're trying to figure everything out. But she, just her optimism, her just ability, just to shift an atmosphere. We're still trying to learn how to write together. Writing groups are really, really important. Especially when you have three, usually is a great number. Most of the time at the house, it's just Melissa and I, and we're trying to figure some stuff out. We've had some success, but it's still extremely hard when it's your spouse. Like you can't throw out, especially somebody who they're newer in the process. You can't throw out, hey, I don't think that's any good.
I don't like that.
I don't like that. What?
Let me tell you, my wife has no problem doing that. I mean, you say you can't do that with her. My wife has absolutely no problem telling me what she doesn't like.
I think my husband would say the same thing, Jay.
But when you're in that songwriting process, which is everything out on the table exposed.
Well, and they're so personal, right?
So personal.
So to say something that she's really feeling and maybe even wanting you to feel that with her, and then you come back and you're like, nah, let's go back to the drawing board. I could see that being really hard for both of you to say, okay, let me be vulnerable and put this out there, where if it's just you and Sean, it's not as personal or emotional, or, how songs help us to say those things.
Could be. You don't know what their relationship's like.
That's true.
But Sean's my litmus test. I don't share when I write a song. I don't share it with anybody except for Sean right away, usually. Because just think about when you were growing up. You did a doodle on a piece of paper really quickly. You drew it with crayons, and your parents were like, incredible. Picasso, right? But then all of a sudden you grow up and you write a song, you send it to your buddy who has no idea what songwriting even looks like and what's a good song. And they're like, incredible, dude. That's awesome. They'll never listen to it again, but they're going to give you some great feedback. Sean's the litmus test. I sent it to Sean. He's like, hey, dude, the hook's not strong enough. I don't know, that bridge didn't really match, the rest of the feel of the song. I mean, he literally, it's without being critical. He's just telling me yes or no, like this is good enough, or hey, Josh, I can see where you're trying to go, or I can see, Josh, I hear what you're trying to figure out. And I think the best part of that song is this. Let's ditch everything else and keep that and write around that. And then there we are. And then we'll get on a Zoom call. We've got a friend that we went to college with that's in Nashville. He tours with like Ann Wilson, and he's on tour right now with Ben Fuller. Great musician, bass player, guitarist, songwriter. And we get on a Zoom, and every time the three of us get on a Zoom, an hour or 2 hours later, we have a whole song. And it's a pretty good song. Looky Here we wrote together, the most recent single, and we've just written so many cool songs. We wrote a song called My Lines, just about, no one's going to take my lines. You have some things that only your spouse needs to share with you, that you can't hear it from anybody else. It means the most coming from your spouse. And if you're not saying those things, you better believe that somebody may step in one day and say the right things to your wife. And if they're not hearing it from you or your spouse, if they're not hearing it from you, what more of a temptation is that to feel loved? And so it's like encouraging, so we wrote this song out in a day, and all the three of us all knew exactly what it meant immediately, because we've known how much we've dropped the ball without saying enough to our spouse. The most recent song that we've been working on, like Sean said, that we'll release in October, is called Roses. And part of the premise of the song, no matter where you are politically in the world right now, part of what the tragedy that's happened in several cases this year is that somebody's going home, or somebody's dad's not coming home, or somebody's mom's not coming home. And that is the most impossible thing for me to even comprehend, that the loss of life, where it's so tragic. But what we have as humans, we have amnesia. We forget so easily that, like, we're not guaranteed tomorrow at all. We're so what's the word I'm looking for?
Future focused.
We're so future focused that we don't realize how vulnerable we really are. And if you took every statistic in the world, it would just make you sick. And it makes me think about my brother-in-law and his line of work. He thinks about death every single day. I don't have to, and I don't. And so the song Roses is basically the opening line of the song is, don't hold your roses till the funeral. Take every chance to tell her she's beautiful. Because
I just got the chills.
I'm telling you, this entire song, it's like depressing, but it's not depressing at all, because it's like, hold up, something in me just made me want to sit up and go like hug and kiss my wife and tell her how much I love her, because I may never get the opportunity to. Everything that happened in the past couple of weeks is, if it doesn't make you think anything else, is that life is precious and it's not guaranteed at all. The only thing that we're guaranteed, is death and taxes. Is that what the saying is? But we have so much amnesia that we forget that so instantly, that we get caught up in so many other things that we forget how precious life is, and what our job is, and what our commitment was the day we said I do. And so this song, we weren't even planning on releasing it. And I sent Sean back the demo that we had recorded. And I said, dude, like, I know this was an awesome song, and we weren't going to, the only reason we weren't going to release it was because it wasn't going to be a strong enough single that was going to go out and get playlisted and just feel like it was going to perform really well. But the decision and the meeting between us and the label was, I think the song was created for such a time as this. And the craziest thing in the world is, if you look back at the shared note, the song was written almost a year to the date of everything that's going on right now in the world. And it was like, holy cow, like, I think this song is for such a time as this. Let's go ahead and release it so that we can kind of encourage some people to lean in a little bit more to their relationships and be closer. And I think at the end of the day, like, that's incredible.
All right. Well, Sean, let's lighten things up a little bit. You guys have known each other for an awful long time at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Take us back and tell us some juicy piece of gossip about Josh.
Oh, man. Something about Josh.
Did y'all meet in high school?
So, no, we met in college. We were both a part of a campus ministry. I was at the college downtown Charleston, and he was at one in North Charleston. And I'm struggling to think of one specific memory, but I will say Josh was a prankster, and he was known as that. We would maybe 3 times a year have both the college groups meet up, and man, he was a mess in the best way, in the fun way.
Is he still like that now?
He's a little tamer, but he definitely is at heart. Yeah, he's still got the prankster at heart.
Josh, tell us
How
some
was
of your
April
pranks.
Fool's at your house? Yeah.
So that's actually my birthday. I was born on April Fool's Day, and I don't think anyone's ever April Fool's me. So I'm kind of inviting.
Oh, Josh, are you welcome for the challenge?
I need someone
he
to.
Just tempted you.
Well, no, extremely up for it. Mine are pretty crazy. I'm trying to think of one I came up with the other day. But it's it's nothing that would cause a lot of harm, but could be pretty embarrassing. And
those are the ones we like.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some actual
Ones you
super
can
pranks.
actually
Man, if you
air.
wouldn't have asked me, Jay, I would have told you every single one.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah. Gosh.
Oh, I have one. It's the only one I can think of. It's not the best, but I remember we had this one
Josh,
getaway.
keep thinking.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
This was for something.
This was like all of the schools in the Southeast, or at least in South Carolina, get together from this campus ministry. And so we were at this event. And so maybe 200, 300 people in the room. And it was a great weekend, had a ton of fun out on the lake and had meetings and stuff. And so anyway, at the end, Josh is the MC. He's hosting it. And they've invited whoever wants to come share what they learned or what they experienced to the whole group. And I guess Josh decided he didn't have wrap up music. There's nothing to kind of urge this going on. And so as people started going longer and longer, he had this trick where he was holding the mic. He would slowly start bringing it lower and lower. And it was shocking how many people would just keep getting lower and lower with the mic rather than getting the clue. But that's what I think of when I think of Josh. He's going to be funny and communicate that really well in front of people.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Never put me on speakerphone, especially my wife will tell you, especially if you're at the store, if you're on FaceTime or speakerphone at the store, because I will make every noise known to man or say something extremely inappropriate really loud so that everyone around you can hear it. Gosh, I don't know. I'm usually
babe,
off
did you get the
cuff.
ointment?
Did you get yes, all the things. I'll even get my 11-year-old daughter with that. She's trying to make some kind of selfie video for something. I can't. I'm a child. The child comes out in me, and it's every fart sound in the world that you could imagine.
My daughter was making a TikTok in the kitchen tonight while we were trying to get ready for dinner, and I just stood behind her and danced, and she had no idea I was there.
Yep. Shirt comes off, whatever it is, and whatever's needed.
Nobody wants to see that, Josh. I can't take my shirt off around my family.
Okay, so Sean, it sounds like you play every instrument under the sun, or you know of every instrument under the sun. Josh, do you play any instruments?
Yes. I can't say really well compared to the people that I'm around because I've hired to that weakness. No, I'm like I said, I got injured playing sports, and the guitar was there. Every dollar I'd ever saved went to purchasing instruments, and I went straight in. The electric guitar, the half stack guitar amp. B-52 had just come on the scene, and their solid state half stack was the clean on it was really incredible. That electric guitars, gear, PA system, everything. I still have the PA system. I bought at that time as well. Yamaha they don't make things like they used to as far as that hardware, and went straight in and never looked back. So play guitar, but it's different. I mean, I guess what folks would tell me is that they feel like there's a relationship between me and my guitar. Like the way I play it, the guitar and I are one, or there's something coming out of it that's a little bit different than the way they hear other people playing it. I don't know if you want to call it passion. I don't know if you want to call it whatever, but it's my own style. Sean will usually translate. Sean will probably do most of the tracking because if we're trying to be on studio time and all that kind of stuff, he can translate it pretty well. But yeah, play guitar. I can play the bass. I can do a few other things, the harmonica, enough to be a little bit dangerous, or to enough to impress. I don't know. I did not impress my wife with it.
Right.
She could care less if I could play guitar and sing, but enough to impress some people. And but enough to have fun. And I think that's our live performances. Like Sean said, we just are trying to put on a rock show. And any way I can add to that, I do.
Would you say live performing is more fun than studio recording? Do you enjoy it more?
For me, I do. I love people, and I just love moments. I love creating these moments that they're not expecting at all. And I love putting the right people in place to do it. the band we have together for the Poorhouse show. I've got a Venezuelan on the keys that's an incredible keys player that's really celebrated around town and that can play across so many genres, whether it's Latin music or jazz or anything. And then Sean's, of course, over there on the electric guitar doing things that most people cannot do with a guitar. And, you know, we've got bass player. We got a drummer that's got more energy than anybody would know what to do with. If we could bottle it, it would be incredible. But to put the right people in the right place, to put something together to where if that was your first rock show like John Mayer, then you'd want to put on a rock show for the rest of your life. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's the aspect of it. And doing it with my wife, Sean is one of my best friends. Getting to do it with those two.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah. Not many people get to do that, especially as they get older in life.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, sir. Well, we do this thing here we call Unsung Heroes, where we take a moment to shine the light on somebody who's worked behind the scenes or somebody who may have supported you along the way. Do you guys have anybody you'd like to shine a little light on?
Why don't you take it, Sean?
I'll say my parents. Honestly, they've been so supportive. There's a ton of people we could say here, but they were a big part of what got us started financially back 15 years ago, along with a donor from Josh's friends in Texas. And man, I just like we wouldn't be, I don't think, doing what we're doing. It wouldn't have continued this long without their support. So I'll shine the light on them.
There you go.
Unexpected, but it's the first thing that came to my mind right now. My local thrift store, Community Thrift on Rivers Avenue. Yeah. My favorite guitar. I always wanted this 1970s Martin guitar. And this thrift store is like the Kidney Foundation thrift store. And I know I'm going to try to wrap it up real quick. They will come and pick up all your junk when somebody passes away. And all of a sudden I walk in one day, I kind of had it on my schedule to go by at least like twice a month. And all of a sudden there's this guitar case and it doesn't look like much, right? And I open it up and I see this guitar. I've never heard of this brand before called Penco. Okay, so I started to look it up, Google it, because this looks just like a Martin. I mean, you couldn't look more like a Martin. I took a picture of it. And my phone AI told me it's a D28. And I'm going, holy cow, okay. I start to look it up. Well, Penco is this Japanese brand that knocked off Martin & Gibson so well that they became sued. It was called it's a lawsuit guitar. Anyways, Penco shut down, Pennsylvania company, which then later reopened as Ibanez. And I love this guitar. So in Charleston, we have this guitar shop over in Mount Pleasant, is another part of the metropolitan area. The only person that is like certified in this area of the country to reset Martin guitars is about 78 years old. And I took this guitar to him. He knew exactly what it was. He treated it just like a Martin. He reset it, put Grover tuners on it, put new strings, reset the bridge, did a little glue work, put a LR Baggs pickup in it. And I'm telling you, y'all, I've never been so in love with an instrument like I am this one. And I invested a total of $500 into this guitar, and I love it.
Maybe
so
that's
much.
Why you become one when you play it.
I think so, but it's
so in love with it.
I got all my other Martins are collecting dust, so here it is. Anyways, I want to thank my local thrift store.
That's not a bad choice.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So we've done it. We've reached the top of the hour, which doesn't mean we have reached the end of the show. If you have enjoyed this show, please tell a friend, and Miss Tiffany, if you have not,
tell two.
All right, you can reach out to both of us over at jfrenzy.com. You can actually reach out to all four of us. 5, reach out to Josh's wife. That's fine, too. You can do all of that over at jfrenzy.com. Josh, Sean, we would like to leave the final words to you.
Melissa, thank you for watching the kids tonight, putting them to bed. I love you, sweetheart. You mean the world to me.
Yeah, and if you're local, we'd love to see you October 23rd at the Poorhouse. It's a Thursday night.
All right, folks. On that note, have a good night.
Thanks for listening to The Jay Franzi Show. Make sure you visit us at jfranzi.com. Follow, connect, and say hello. This episode has been brought to you by VR Knives. your source for 100% custom knives made by a true rock star. So, if you're in the market for a new piece of art, reach out to VR Knives. 407-421-5528. 407-421-5528.